Okay, so you go to the document that we have pinned in the group. Click on this link and it opens the resume for the BA Copilot. So it doesn't work on this browser because I don't have ChatGPT on that account. Okay, I need to switch my screen. So everyone should have access to this resume Copilot. So this Copilot, we built it on ChatGPT because I believe it's the most popularly used tool. We're also planning to build it on Google Gem because Google Gem is now shareable. But for now, we have it here. You can use this for two purposes. You can use it to create your first BA resume, your first I call it the master BA resume. That is that first resume where you do a brain dump of all the work you have done in the past, be it healthcare, customer service, supply chain, wherever you are coming from. And then it builds your first resume based on your prior experiences. So that becomes your master resume. However, when we begin to apply for jobs, what we'll do is to tailor our resumes to those jobs. It might mean maybe our master resume may be up to say 5 or 6 pages, maybe. However, when we begin to tailor for job postings, it could be less, depending on the type of job you're applying for. If it's for government contracts, most times they expect you to write your BA will be in form of a projectized form. You are describing all the projects you've been part of. But for corporate organizations, they usually prefer the chrono type of resume, which I believe is what most of you here will be doing, because most of you will not even have that experience to apply for government contracts or projects. So what would I do? Before I start using this tool, I would use what I could just step back a bit and think about all the projects I've done and write them out. What do I mean by that? So there's also another document here on this template. It's just to make life easy. So we used it in the past and it was very helpful, I found, and I decided to maintain it. When we're doing the resumes for students, we use this to elicit their experiences and their information. So you can read through this when you have some time. Basically, we want people to actually sit down because it is work. You have to sit down and think of all the BA work you have done in the past. It could be on the job, it could be volunteer work, it could be when you were volunteering with a religious organization, community, professional association, whatever. But you need to really think through it and then think about them maybe in form of projects, right? What did you do? What was the context? What did you do? What were you responsible for? What solutions did you create? Maybe there were solutions. What were the results? Think about it, and I provided some information that would help you understand each of these. Finally, here there's a table here where you can take for each of them the project name. Maybe you worked with, say, Christmas party planning. For example, I'm volunteering with the school board, my kids' school board. We had the annual fun fair program, and it was a lot of work. There were lots of planning, there were a lot of tax tracking, different things on the day organization, so many things. And in fact, that was BA work and project management, more like project management work, more like sit down. It may take you a while, think of all of these things you've done and note them down here. So that if you're able to do this very well, thoroughly, it would help you when you are using this tool. All you need to do is to just copy this part where you have written out all what you've done and upload it into this tool. Another way you can do that is to just start using the tool. If you use I don't know if the free version of ChatGPT has this microphone feature, because I use it a whole lot. Like I talk to ChatGPT when I work with it. Another way you can do this is just take pen and paper and just scribble, think about your experience and just take notes. And then you start interacting with the tool. So let's say, for example, one of my past experiences, I was working as a supply chain officer. Yeah. And I'm trying to describe it. So are you ready to create? Let's get started. Okay. Let me answer the questions now. I'm ready to get started. I want the resume to be in a chronological format, organized by my work history and roles. And I'm not looking to target any specific industry. I'll just want to keep it general for now. So I'm impatient with typing. So I rather use my voice feature. Thank God for the voice features. Here are my first questions for you. Can you tell me about your most recent job title? What were some key project improvements or changes you worked on? Do you recall any results or measurable outcomes? Okay, so I'll try and answer these questions to the best of my ability. Now, remember, I sat down to take note of all my work. In fact, maybe when you get here, you might want to pause, take note, and scribble something before you continue. So let's assume I've done that. I would just, okay, so my most recent work experience, I worked with a supply chain. I worked with ABC Logistics Company. I was a supply chain officer, and part of my role, there were so many projects, but one project I remember very well was when I had to improve invoice and payment processing process. Part of the work we do as supply chain officers, we have lots of vendors we outsource some activities to, and we need to pay them on time. So there was a time we were grounded because we were owing lots of vendors. We had not processed their payment. So after we cleared that backlog and we got out of that situation, I was tasked with reviewing the entire end-to-end process and making sure that that situation never happened. And the target was for us to ensure that turnaround time for payment was 7 business days. So I had to have conversations with the finance team because my team, the supply chain team, were not the only one responsible for making payments to happen. We receive invoice from the vendors, and then we review it to make sure it's in alignment with the services we requested. We check with the store department to make sure what the vendors supplied were correct. And then we approve those invoices and send it to finance. Sometimes we need to send requests for additional information or ask for corrections because through our checks and balances, we realize the invoices are not correct. So I had conversations with the finance team to understand what are their requirements, what do they expect to see from a complete invoice that will go through for processing and payment. They listed out the requirements, what they look out for in their checklist, and I created a checklist. So for me, it helped me go back to review our own process and then also work with the store department and the vendor to design a process that met all the checklists that finance was requiring from us. At the end of the day, we're able to improve our turnaround time for payment to 7 days because prior to then it was taking 30 days and even more. And our vendors were happy and things improved drastically. Okay, so what I've done here is I'm interacting with the Resume Copilot to help me build my resume, right? I've described each one of my projects and I'm going to click send and it will process that information. So I'm going to do this for all my roles, everywhere I worked, do this step by step, right? And it would create that resume for me. So see what it has done with this one input I've provided to it. So I'll put, when I copy this, I'll put all the right informations from November 2013 to whenever and all of that. So responsibilities. Now you see it has taken what I described in my supply chain terms and is now using BA language, analyze end-to-end vendor invoice, facilitated cross-functional workshops. I just described what I did, but now it's taking it and reframing it in the BA way, okay? So this is what you're going to do for all your experiences, and then you copy and paste into your resume template. If you don't have a template, I can look for one from one of our cohorts so that you can just copy out and paste in there. So this is how I'll go step by step and build my master resume based on my prior experience, leveraging my past experience. And guys, I've been on an interview where the hiring manager, like 90% of the questions asked was him reading through my resume. So he will say, so here you said you analyze end-to-end vendor invoice and payment process to identify bottleneck. Can you describe to me how you did it? So you must know and own your resume. He asked me even to the point that he got to the section where I said I volunteer with IIBA and all that. He was asking me, so what have you learned? How has that made you better as a person? He read my resume as in depth. And that's why you need to know, you need to build a resume based on your experience so that you can speak to it. But when you import somebody's resume, okay. I'll stop here and take questions before we move on to tailoring your resumes to particular job postings. So I need questions. I need interaction. Guys, ask questions. Ask questions, because at the end of this session, you would have to. Emily, go ahead, please.
I have another tip. Earlier, okay, you were talking about writing down on a piece of paper all the things you've done in your experience and whether or not you think it matches up with business analysis. What I'd like to show, if I can share my screen,
go ahead, please,
is the Business Analysis Standard. I know that Oge provided the link to the standard, and this is a free document. If you go to page 26 of the document, it outlines the different knowledge areas that business analysis touches and all the different tasks that you do in each of the knowledge areas. Some of these words are kind of generic and hard to understand, but if you scroll down in the document, it describes in detail what all those tasks are in the different knowledge areas. And you might be able to find that the work you've done in your past in a role that's not necessarily called business analysis, maybe you've done some of this work before as, let's say, a QA tester or a supply chain specialist. So when you look at your past experience, you might find that some of the work you've done before matches these things. And it's a good idea to try and match the language, because like Oge said, there are applicant tracking systems, ATSs, that look for keywords. And if you want a BA job, you need to be able to speak the BA lingo. So if you look at these definitions, it'll help you match up your past experience with business analysis in business analysis terms. So this is a free document. She's already given you the link to this, and you can read this just to understand more about the profession.
Thanks, Emily.
Welcome.
Okay. So how are you finding? Do you think this would help you in any way?
Sure, it's helping a lot. Just that I'm dazed. I'm just looking like, what's happening? When I'm gaining some things.
Oh, yeah, wondering that what's the magical game is showing us here.
Honestly, it's like I've not done anything at all. Like I'm just starting the program itself.
We're here to make life easy for you. And this is what we've done over time. And thanks to AI, we're able to use AI to do 90% of the work. Remember, you need to review, read, edit, and finally own it. But that stress of, if you are new to business analysis, you don't know what those terminologies sound like. We've taken that barrier away. Okay, so I was looking for, so there's this job opening I see here on LinkedIn. I would use it. So remember now, I only showed you, I demonstrated how I would create my master resume based on what I've done. So I just showed you one example. But what you just need to do is to repeat the same thing for all your work experiences. And I think you shouldn't do more than 10 years. I mean, is it 10? Yeah, I think the last 10 years. So if you, is it 5 years or 10 years?
I think, well, it depends on the organization. If you're looking at Canadian federal government, they ask for your life story.
Go ahead.
Okay, the 10 years you're talking about, is it mandatory or it's just you citing an example based on our previous job roles?
Yeah, I think it's 5 years. Just back up to your last 5 years, I think. Okay. I don't know if it's up to 10 years. Yeah, your past. So we're looking at translating your past experiences to business analysis. Okay. And I'm trying to date it, well, at least the last 5 years.
Okay, that's good. Then the other thing.
Make it up to, okay, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. So the other thing is the LinkedIn that like I will speak for myself. That like the LinkedIn that I have now, when you already put yourself out there with so many things, and now you're trying to, it's okay to update. And what about if anyone has gone through it before and they are saying that, oh, it's different from what was there before or something? So for update, is there anything or you suggest I have to make another one another account, or I can still use the one that I'm having currently?
So one thing I know for sure is that people have multiple. One thing for sure, you can always change your LinkedIn profile. You are called, you position yourself as this today, you don't want to do that. You position yourself as something else tomorrow. Is very possible, right?
Yes.
Another thing I've seen other people do is to have multiple, create another resume, another LinkedIn profile. So when you create that new one, you make sure on your job postings, on your job application, on your resumes, that's where you're putting that LinkedIn, that new one you created strictly for the BA role. Because the truth is, a lot of people bear the same first name and last name. So if you didn't share the original one you had to say this is your LinkedIn profile, who can confirm that this is it?
Okay,
So
but
go ahead.
go ahead. Sorry. So, but whatever that was in before previously, one can still update it to
Oh
current
yes.
one now.
Yep.
Then it's just because of the connection, maybe those that you before you get another connection or something like that. I don't know.
Oh.
Now currently is on BA role, or it's just that maybe due to the BA Resume Copilot that you just made now, for me to make it the way I have worked in the past, than just putting in anything I want there. So I'm just thinking if I update it, it's okay, or you suggest I should just create new one.
So what I would recommend, because you have connections and followers, you don't want to lose that. Build your resume. When you are done building your resume with the Copilot, use this resume and go update your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Does that make it easy for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the job posting I want to apply to here. And I have my resume. What I've done, let's assume this is my master resume. What I simply did was to save as, and I saved it with the new name of the job I want to apply to, because I want to track all my job applications. So the next step is to copy this job posting. Remember, I want to optimize it for ETS. I copy this job posting here. I'm going to copy everything. And I'll go back to my AI Copilot here. Okay, and I'm going to talk to it again. Okay, hi, I need your help. I need to apply for a job. I'm going to provide you with a job description. I need you to analyze it and tell me how to best position myself for this new job posting. What are the keywords I should pay attention to? One thing I've learned with AI, work with it step by step. Don't give it too much information. I'm just going to say here is the job posting. So I want you to help me. Before now, I'll read through and highlight all the keywords one by one when there was no AI. And then when I'm tailoring, I'll make sure I'm embedding and including all those keywords. That is what I do. But now AI is going to help me do the analysis, highlight those keywords for me. And I read through it and understand. I would also read the job posting in case AI is not doing what I asked it to do.
Okay, so thank you for this. One question I know bothers people is, if maybe I've been a customer service officer, and now do I need to change the job title, or I can still leave it as the real job title I had earlier, but the description would now be tailored towards doing the roles of a business analyst?
Okay. I've gotten this question a lot of time, and this is how I answer it. Pay more attention in developing and building your BA skill set than worrying about your prior job title. Why do I say this? The IIBA describes a business analyst as anyone that has done business analysis work, irrespective of their job title.
Okay.
So by the time you are competent in doing BA work, you are able to demonstrate to hiring managers that you are a BA, and I'm sure they would ignore your job title. Another thing I've also seen people do is to say, because they know they have done some analysis work in their role. So for example, someone that is a customer service officer, he might then drop the officer part and say, oh, I was a customer service analyst. And in the job posting, he is highlighting only the business analysis work he did on that role or in their LinkedIn profile or their resume. But I wish people would pay more attention on knowing the BA work and confidently telling whoever cares to listen that, hey, I may not have had the BA job title, but I was doing business analysis work. I experienced it. At some point, I was employed to do BA work, but they pushed me to go do internal it at some point because they needed someone to fit in that role, and they paused the transformation work because they needed an urgent someone to do that, and I was available at that point in time. Yeah, and I still reflect all of that in if you go to my LinkedIn profile, I'm sure I still have that internal audit officer title there.
Okay, thank you. But the challenge is that you might not be called at all for interview because what we were made to believe is if it is from what they see on your resume that will determine whether this person will be called for interview or has an experience of business analyst. Well, maybe that has changed now.
Did they prove it? The person that made you believe that, what data, what facts did they use to prove that assumption?
There's no facts, but when you keep sending resume and you are not called for interview, you tend to believe that, right?
I totally do not believe that's the case because a lot of organizations or hiring managers know that, okay, Emily is going to chime in, that most times BAs are not born or they were not born to do BA but a lot of people have transitioned from their existing role into business analysis role through training, mentorship, and other activities, right? So I don't agree with that. But Emily, go ahead, please.
And I agree with OJ. I find a lot of people don't really know what a business analyst is. So for them to say, you didn't do business analysis is not legitimate. What I would do is in your resume, state the company you worked for, the title you held, the start date, end date. And it's important to actually use the title you held because if you ever get reference checks and they call your old employer or reference at that old company, they're going, she was never a business analyst. She was a customer service representative. So you don't want to appear fraudulent in that sense. So in the company, title, and start and end dates, use what you actually were. But then when you talk about the tasks you perform, you could say business analysis specific tasks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Emily. I like that part you added there. Yeah. Okay, can we continue with our job applications now? So we moved on to applying for jobs. So AI has helped us review, highlighting all the skill sets, the keywords, and also talking about highlight. Okay, so it says, how do you frame this experience? I've heard, and when I do this, I take note of all these keywords, check the job posting, and I see it picked it correctly so that when it starts tailoring my resume, I'll be looking out for these keywords to make sure it's not missing it. AI is just AI. I hope you guys know that AI is not smart. AI is just a pattern predictor. It's just statistics. It will guess what next based on what it has seen before. So don't trust AI and go to sleep, okay? Okay, so now I'm done with my analysis. I would then open my resume here. I would open my resume here. What I would do, I would copy. What some people do, they just copy all of this and paste it into AI and tell AI to tailor their resume. I won't do that. AI works best when you give it short tasks and tell it to focus on short tasks. So what I would do is copy each of this. I'll copy each of the sections of my resume one by one, and I'll tell it to tailor it to that job. So I'll copy this. Okay, thanks for the analysis. Now what we are going to do, I'm going to copy various sections of my resume. I'll put it here. You will tailor those sections of my resume using all the keywords, the relevant keywords, and the job description, responsibilities, skill sets you have on the job posting. I need it to pass ATS. So let's make sure we embed it with all the keywords possible. Okay, so we'll go ahead now. So I'm putting the first part of my professional summary. Remember, so it's also telling me what it added, what changed, all the things it added. Remember, it's trying to tailor. So what is adding all the keywords? But I would also read it. I'm not going to trust it. I would read it. And then when I copy, I will come to my resume. I will replace that section. Remember, this is not my master resume. I'll replace this section. I don't need it all, but I'll read through. Experienced senior IT business analyst with over 10 plus years expertise. It's okay. Let's assume I read through it and I'm comfortable. Sometimes I'm not. But let's assume, just to save time, that I like this part. I'll move on to the next section. I would then tell it to technical skills, and then I call here tools and environment. So I'm going to take these two parts together, and I'll go back to the AI tool. So here's the next section. You would also take it, tailor it. So watch out for those tools and environment. We need to see all those NetSuite, Microsoft, Salesforce that was mentioned in the job posting. So these are the things I look out for, and I make sure that AI is working well. So I don't like the way it has put it as bullet point, because I'm also trying to optimize for space. Please always return in the format I present it to you. For example, the technical skills and the tools and environment, they are all commas, separated by commas. So let's do it that we just separate them by commas. So sometimes AI will not give you the output the way you want it. It's either you copy it and manually adjust it, or you tell it to give you in the way you want it. So this is how I want it. I will just simply cover. Remember, maybe every day I want to apply to at least 5 jobs. So I don't have all the time in the world. Again, I'll paste here. I would review. It made bold for me. I don't need it to be in bold. So I will work a little bit faster now. Now let me go to my experience. So maybe this is one of my experience. I'm just going to copy here. I would go back here, paste it. Guys, I'm not giving you something that I've not tested, that has not worked for me. Since I built this tool, I've decided to test it for myself. I've gotten at least 4 interviews using this tool, because somebody mentioned to say it's AI, they will detect it's AI. They're also using AI to make their work faster. So I'm just going to copy this again. I usually stick to 5 to 7 bullet points just to keep it simple. Remember, I read through. Okay, I read through every single thing I put in here, unless I'm not really interested in that job posting, but I try to read through all of them. Then remember to format, okay? Always remember to format, because part of what hiring managers are also looking out for is your documentation skills. Your resume speaks a whole lot about it.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, copied and I've pasted from. So remember, I know the last one I had did not have ERP, CRM, didn't have it. So it's tailoring these responsibilities to it. And I'll also read through to make sure it's really reflecting what I have done. And so this is how I'll continue until I get to the end of my resume, review it, make sure the wording sometimes. So there are some words you need to watch out for. I noticed that was saying I authored BRD document. There are some terminologies that are not. I authored a book. So it was saying I authored BRD. I was like, no, I didn't author a BRD. I created or I developed. There was a time it was using I did a comprehensive, structured. I didn't like those words. That's why it's reading through, you identify those words and you take it out and keep it, let it sound human. So this is how I do job applications. I then go upload in the ATS, fill out the forms, and move on to the next job application. Any questions? Okay, so we would, if there are no questions, we will break out. You have the tool. You have, if you want to use the template to think about all your job you've done in the past, fine. If you want to just scribble pen and paper and then work interactively with the Copilot, it is a Copilot. It would ask you questions, you will respond to it. It will ask you follow-up questions that way. So whatever works for you, but make sure you use it to build your master resume and then begin to apply for jobs. Begin to apply for jobs once you have the master resume sorted. Part of what you should also include in your master resume is this project you are doing in these 5 days. Hi, Ayomide.
Yeah, thank you. What I want to find out is the Copilot business resume thing. It was requesting maybe when I use it, maybe for like 10, 15 minutes or so, or I've done some couple of things. It's going to say, oh, you have to come back in next 4 hours or something, that I cannot do anything again. I don't know why is that. Actually, I saw
You're
this
using the free
outside.
version.
Oh, so,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
So I have to upgrade.
Yeah, you have to. So you just have to get a paid ChatGPT account if you, maybe just for the purpose of building your master resume. What I'll try to do is to see if we can build the Gemini, but I don't know if Google Gemini should also have some restriction in the free version. It's not entirely free. I think it's about $20, right? I think it's worth the investment. It would save you hours on end to make that investment. So if you pay, the paid version has their latest model, which is what I'm using here. So if you don't get it as good as what you see on the screen, it could also be the model you are working with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Alrighty, any other questions? Dio, Kemi, okay, I think I saw Kemi. Is Fumi still here? No, Fumi has dropped off. Hi Dio, how are you feeling today? Did they say why they were dropping off? I'm sorry, I
think
have to
maybe
know.
Saida,
Okay.
excuse me, sent chat that she has to leave now. So
Okay, I know Fumi is in the middle of the night for her. Maybe she slept off, but yeah, she can catch up with the recording tomorrow. Okay, so we have 2 people. We have Kemi and Dio. Oh, Ayomide, you are the only one in your team that is here, that is left. Do you want to join Dio and Kemi's team, or can you continue working on your own?
I wouldn't mind. I would join them.
Okay. So Dio and Kemi, can you unmute? Okay, no, Kemi has unmuted. She asked questions. Dio, I've not heard your voice. What do you think about the Resume Copilot? Do you think it's helpful? Do you think it will help you make progress?
Yeah, I think it's really helpful and quite insightful. I learned quite a few tips.
Okay. So are we good to continue working on our case studies? Do we have any questions, or are we good to, so I'll just keep quiet and allow you get on your work?
We saw a lot of work about preparing a resume, also the job search strategies. I also want to stress the value of doing networking. When you meet other people in the industry, you start to understand what exactly the job is about, and you start speaking like these other people in the same terminology. So go to, I know it's a bit of a plug for IIBA, but IIBA has so many chapters around the world. They do both in-person and online events. So I'm sure that you can attend both types of events, either in person or online. They have a number of free events as well. So if you start immersing yourself with these other people, you'll start learning the language and speaking the same way and learning what it takes to perform the job well.
Yeah. Yeah, learning the language. You hear people say use the words over and over. You know, sometimes BAs tell me that, oh, I'm struggling with using the right words during interviews. And I'm like, you've not listened to it enough. You've not been in the circle long enough you've not immersed yourself in it enough. So these opportunities will help you. Webinars. A lot of BA chapters do their webinars online. In fact, we have some coming up with IIBA Ottawa. Okay, I think they're a member on the event, so you won't be able to join. Yeah, but there are lots of other chapters. Kemi, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Emily. And okay, I just want to ask for a favor. Can I private chat any of you later? I want to ask some questions around IIBA.
Sure, feel free.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay, if I search your name, or can you send your LinkedIn?
I think I'm the only Emily Tom who's a CBAC.
The one and only.
You'll find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, no problem. I'll private chat you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's get on to today's. So feel free to work as long as you want, and then you can leave the call. I'll stop recording now.